Hey YouTube, Secret Agent 1306 here. Trying to put away my iPad. This is going to be a response to Jay's contest on close calls. Well, as most of you know, I work for the government now, a certain branch, and I used to be a police officer in Charlotte, North Carolina. And of the stories that I have many close calls, but this one in particular is a close call that I don't really care to live again, or I can probably never forget. Out on patrol one night, working midnights, I heard another officer say that they were going to do a traffic stop. And as with all police officers, when you do a traffic stop, other officers around the area kind of start just kind of making their way that way, just in case something happens. Well, I started rolling that way, and I heard the officer call out the suspect's name of the stop she was with. She was calling for warrant checks. Well, I recognized the name immediately because I had dealt with that guy probably about a week prior. And I knew that this female officer that was out with him, if he was acting the way he was acting with me last week, she's going to need some help. So I started rolling that way, and another officer also was coming. We kind of met up together. So there's three of us, a female, myself, and another officer who's just about ready to retire. He's probably about 50-some years old, big fat guy. And the officer who was the female, just a little thing. And this guy that she stopped was huge. I could tell looking at him that he was on something, drinking, most likely on drugs. So, comes out, he had some warrants on him, and we're getting ready to put him in the car to handcuff him. Had him turn around, the female was going to handcuff him. He didn't want to be handcuffed. He immediately turned around, started arguing with us. Of course, we're sitting there saying, "Sir, try to calm down, try not to escalate the situation." He was having none of that, though. He was going to buck us. He was going to fight. I was in the middle, female officer, and an older officer was on my right. And he spun around, went right for me, reached down, and he tried to grab my gun out of his holster. Well, I immediately saw his hand go down to my gun. I put my hand down there to stop him from grabbing the gun and pulling it out of the holster. And I could only really fight with one hand and keep one hand on my gun because he was going to shoot us. I had no doubt. I had no doubt. The look in this guy's eye, he was going to shoot us for sure. So I'm holding his hand, which was on my gun handle, trying to keep it from coming out. And my belt, keep coming up and up. He's like, pants are falling up around in front of me. And we're just wrestling with this guy. And I couldn't hardly do anything with just one hand. So I was just kind of like going with it, just trying to keep everything here instead of the gun coming out. Of course, the female officer, she was trying. She just didn't have the strength. And the male officer, who was old as dirt, he didn't have the strength either. took all my strength just to keep this gun in its holster and trying to fight this guy off at the same time, and the other two just kind of going with it. Those two should have reacted a little more. Probably should have shot the guy, because I told him he had his hand on my gun. They weren't getting on the radio to call out for some more backup. So I made the decision to let go of him. And my radio, which we had this little mic that went up on our shoulder, that had fallen off in the fight. So I couldn't reach my radio. Hers was still on her shoulder, so I kind of got my hand off him, stole my gun, grabbed her radio, and yelled for backup. Luckily, one was probably about 30 seconds down the road, and another 30 seconds fighting this guy. It was just horrendous. We're in the middle of the street, just fighting, cars going by, not doing anything. It's all I could do, just keep on my feet and keep the gun in its holster. Another officer came, who was another stout guy. Finally, we got him subdued, handcuffed him, put him in the car. After that, I'm looking at myself, my gun belt was just twisted along front of me, but it was still in its holster. That was a close call for sure. I know that if I didn't retain control of my weapon, I know that guy was going to shoot me. Or the other two officers, or all of us. It was a scary moment, to say the least. I'm thankful to still be here. The kicker to the story is we went to court on that a few weeks later, and the guy only got 3 months in jail for that. 3 months for just about ready to kill us, almost attempted murder. It's just so frustrating when something like that happens. You know your life's in the balance, and you know the guy doesn't get anything. It's just a revolving cycle. The criminals coming in and going out, not getting any time. But that's my close call, and I do not care to relive that again. See you guys.